we might be saying hello to a writer's strike. Now, guys, we've been talking about this for weeks now, everybody out there, and this is the time. The contract ends on Monday. So if they don't get a deal by Monday, Tuesday morning, the picket signs are coming out, and they already made the picket signs. They made them yesterday. Picket signs are made. It's a strike happening. They said they make just in case. They're going to make them just in case. This happened for IATSE too. When IATSE almost had a strike too, they made picket signs as well, and a deal was reached over the weekend. Normally, it would be that. Usually, these deals come down to the last weekend. It always does. So it's going to be a strike or bust. Or, I should say deal or bust. And the thing is, they already have, for everybody that doesn't know, they already have a deal that got, the producers passed on a deal to the writers, and the writers went over it, and they sent a new deal back today. This morning, they sent a new deal back, so they had their stuff. And they haven't done this yet. So they're starting a back and forth, so it might mean that they're close to a deal. I honestly think, here's my prospect, my whole analogy on this. If they don't have a deal by tomorrow at like noon, 2 o'clock, there's a strike. If you don't hear anything by the afternoon tomorrow, there's a strike. Because that's what happened to IATSE too. They had a deal like afternoon on Saturday and it was done. They're not going to go till Monday. Either going to have a deal on Saturday or they're going to like, hey, we're done. We're going to strike territory. And they also put out the guidelines too. On top of that, they sent out guidelines to everybody and said, hey, if we strike, you can't work. And if you're non-union and you work a job, we're going to ban you from the union during this strike. So for people that think, well, I'm a non-union writer, I can go do something. No, don't do it because they'll catch you. They'll catch you. They pay attention to that shit. You go to join, you're not going to join. And they're going to find their people.
Which is crazy if you're non-union and you're trying to work, because it's like you're not getting that money anyway. So
fuck them scabs.
Exactly.
You're right. Don't you? There's people that will cross the freaking picket line though too and be like, I'm going to work. It happens every time.
It's
like it's very unfortunate. It's like they're standing up for all the writers out there. Again, we talk about this, like less episode counts, the smaller writer rooms, like the residuals are a big deal because of that. I had somebody talking to me today about it, and they were saying that writers, they make equivalent to about the way the episode counters are $60,000 to $70,000 a year. Now I live in Los Angeles. Right. It's that's nothing to sneeze at, but it's very tough. It's very tough.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
not in LA, yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you're a writer, it's like, you would think you're the backbone of this whole thing. You think that you would be paid a little better for this, but you're not. So, Keoki, we haven't got your take on this. What do you think about this whole WGA thing? Do you think this is going to happen, or do you feel like this is all smoke and mirrors and it will be done and they'll have it all buttoned up by the end of the weekend?
I hope it gets buttoned up, but the way that things are going right now, we do definitely need more content, but we've had so much of an influx of individual content being put out there without writers, or from what we see as writers, like scripted shows. We don't have that as much as we did back in 2007 when the other strike happened. That was huge. And that was what, 8 months or something, or six to 8 months that there was no writing and then you have a deal. So that was huge.
Yeah. They went for 100 days. They went for 100 days.
Sorry. It felt like 6 months to me because I remember Heroes ending like in January or February, and then it was done. I was like, oh my god, what? This is
screwed everything up. It screwed everything up. Like Heroes never, like, it suffered a huge blow. It never came back.
Yeah. It was never the same.
Disney's got canceled because it got fucked over, and that was such a good show.
You're right. So many shows did SAG after the merger happened, so it was just like, wow, it was huge. So hopefully they can get a deal going now, so that way we can keep our good content going the way it is. Help the writers get what they need, so that way we can continue to have our SAG after strong and moving forward. And that's the whole writers GA, of course, too.
Well, I mean, everybody's supporting each other. Like SAG after came out too and said, whatever they do, we're with you. Like the actors will not work. The DGA, their contract's up in June, and they said too, we're behind you too, and we'll negotiate with you. They actually started early negotiations themselves too with the with the producers. But so that's already happening. But they said if you strike, we're with you. We're with you 100%. And I hear it's not quite there yet, but the fact that the WGA sent an offer back to them is a good call. It's a good thing. It's the fact that they're going back and forth, because there's been times, I think the last writer's strike, they just couldn't come up with anything before. And that's why it took like 100 more days on top of already, because they started in April negotiating. So they've already been negotiating for a couple months, It was March. I mean, mid-March they started, actually. Mid-March till now. It's been a couple months. So it's like, and you're not there yet. You're up to the wire. So it's like no one wants to shut down, but it might happen. It really might happen. I still feel like the back and forth, we had the back and forth, it probably won't happen, but every production house is expecting it. Productions have stopped. A lot of them that were supposed to start up, they just halted. People are on hold and they're waiting to see what happens Monday, pretty much. So Monday's a day. Rachel, do you think it's going to happen?
Do it. I think it will happen. And I always support labor, so I will 100% do whatever I can from the outside to support the strike. What can we as viewers do to support the strike?
Well, really, I mean, I would think that if you have a voice, put it out there and be like, hey, like if you work in the industry at all, don't work right now. Don't be a scab. Support your union. Stand up. If you're part of a union that hasn't supported them, like write letters to your local union and be like, hey, get behind them. That's, I mean, but if you're just a normal person every day, just like tweet about it. Be like, support your people. Encourage. Like maybe you tweet the producers union and be like, hey, like, make a deal with these people. Like, take care of your people, because at the end of the day, if they don't want to do that, we don't have content. We really don't. But it's a struggle. It's really a struggle because producers are making more.
We just have terrible content.
Right, exactly.
My God, the stuff that was put out during the last strike was so bad because you had the scab writers who weren't as experienced and didn't care about the shows they were on, and they came in, wrote some absolute garbage. You can, if you watch an older show, that had went on before and after the strike, you can tell when the strike was happening because the quality just tanks. You also have a resurgence of like really high numbers of unscripted television.
That's a big thing that's going to happen. It's just what happens.
Exactly.
Cops, like, remember before when there was a strike, cops came into play because of it, and that was like one of the first reality shows, and that's what happens. They go to reality because they're not scripted.
Exactly.
Not scripted. I mean, they're still pretty. Even a lot of reality shows these days have at least 2 WGA writers on them. So it's happening more and more. It's more out there. You need to make the story
make sense. You need to manipulate the footage so there's storylines and whatever.
Exactly.
Because nobody wants to watch people 24 hours and just see what happens. Like that would be so fucking boring.
Sure.
No.
I don't want more reality TV.
We need drama.
Nobody wants more reality TV. And so I think, as a viewer perspective, if any shows decide to hire scab writers, I just won't watch them.
Yeah. But that could happen. It could happen, though, and hopefully it doesn't, and hopefully they get a deal, and hopefully it doesn't come to a strike, but if it does, it's going to come to a strike for a reason, and I really think they need to work it out.
I think it will, but it won't last as long as last time. Because, like you said, they've already been negotiating in good faith for, assuming in good faith.
And they could realistically, if they are close, they could realistically be like, we're gonna give it more time, we're not gonna strike. That could happen. So Monday could come and go and they could be like, hey, everybody, we're gonna just like in good faith work on our previous contract as of now, and then we're gonna give it this much time, and if we can't come to a conclusion in like a week or 2, then we'll strike, so that could happen. But you have to be very divided for it to come to that.
I would assume like most unions, the unions who would be participating have strike funds to make sure that the actors, writers, WGA, crew members, people don't suffer while they're striking.
WGA has a $20 million strike fund.
Yeah. Okay, they're good for a minute.
That's good.
And if you go back to the last writer's strike, they only had a $9 million strike fund. That's it. Yeah. So they amped it up. They amped it up for this one. They're prepared. And it's a portion of people's dues. That's where it is. Like a portion of your dues has gone towards this. And they're not like handouts either. They're still like loans, they say. And so you're supposed to pay them back without interest. Now, they still have people that haven't paid them back from the last writer's strike. So, I mean, I think it's still like a hot couple $1 million that haven't been paid back. So, I mean, it's not like they're going to knock your door down like, give us our fucking money. You know what I mean? But But they take care of their people, and they're even more prepared for this because this is the time where they're going to stand up.